Hey guys, Suzana here. Thanks for joining me. So today I'm going to be talking about another Louboutin palette. This is part of his Abracadabra collection. I recently did a first impressions using his blush and highlighter palette. I picked up the red case for this one and I felt absolutely in love with this. Like, I have not been able to put it down. I love it. I love the packaging so much more than than what I thought I would. So I did go ahead and pick up one of his eyeshadow palettes. I mentioned that I was really interested, and as usual, curiosity got the best of me. So I did go ahead and pick up one of his three eyeshadow palettes. The one that I have is called Bronze Eloise. Now with this one, I decided to go ahead and get the black case, and something I did not know, I mean, this is extremely silly of me, I cannot believe I had not picked up on this, is that the black case comes with the red bottom. I mean, I cannot believe I had missed this the first time around, because I would have bought this first, but you know, no big deal. I have it anyway now. I will though say that looking at them straight, because the packaging is pretty much the same besides obviously the colors, and this one does have that red bottom. Well, technically this one does as well, but you don't really notice it as much as on the black one. But I just find that looking at the studs like straight on the black case, it kind of, I don't know, like I don't like it as much. I definitely prefer the red case. This, just like the other one, has a nice size mirror, and it also has the Christian Louboutin signature inside, and these are magnetized, so you can use any of the makeup palettes for any of these cases. So like I said, I did pick up Bronze Eloise, and to put it in, because they are magnetized, you just put it over and it just grabs onto the palette very easily. Also, let me mention that these do come with a little pin, so you can insert it here in the back and remove that refill if you want to. Also, let me show you guys a close-up of the back, because it does say Louboutin there. So really pretty. I love the detail that was put into these palettes. They're really a lot more beautiful in person than when I had originally seen pictures, because I was not at all interested at first. But you know, I'm happy I decided to give one of them a try, because here I am with another one. Now, I have played with this eyeshadow palette several times now. I've actually used it 4 times, and every time I use this, I get reminded of another eyeshadow palette that I have. And what's funny, you guys are gonna laugh, is that I actually was saying, I didn't mention this in my video because I didn't think about it until afterwards, but the formula of these blushes and highlighter reminded me also of what these eyeshadows remind me of, and it's with my Burberry palette. So I am going to be doing a little bit of a comparison towards the end of today's video, because I do find that there's a lot of similarities, and I also do have a preference for each of them. So I'm going to share all of that later on, and I'm also going to go ahead and finish my face makeup using the blush and highlighter from Louboutin. But you know what, let's go ahead and get into the eyeshadow first. All right, I brought you guys in a little bit more. My eyes are primed, but you know what? Let me actually show you some swatches of this before we move on to the application. Now, these first 2 shades are more sheer, so you will see on the swatches, they do not swatch as intense as the other shades do. Out of these 6 shades, these 3 here are like that baked gelée formula. This one here is the matte, and then these 2 are like a satin finish. Okay, and then here we have the swatches. These feel really nice to the touch. The matte shade does feel dry, but that does not affect the performance of these eyeshadows. So they so far do perform well. I will though say that I figured out a way that I enjoy these shadows more, and it's when I apply them with my finger, because I get the most intensity with them. The Baked Gelée formula you should be able to use with a wet brush if you please. I do not like to wet my eyeshadows, so to get more intensity out of them, that's when I opt to using my finger for application, and I just find that it sometimes works better. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I feel like I have a little something here on my lip that's getting on my nerves, but I don't see it. Okay. maybe you guys were seeing that. So since I've already had my eyes primed, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with, you know what, I really don't know what I'm gonna do today as far as eyeshadow. I'm just gonna go straight in with this shade first and apply this on most of the lid here. That's really pretty. So it's like it's almost like a metallic-y finish. Not as metallic as other eyeshadows, but it's a very wearable type of finish, I would say. Like I could wear this pretty much anywhere and not feel like it's too much on my eyes. Now this, did I tell you guys what eyeshadow palette this is? I'm not sure. I think I did. So this one's Bronze Eloise, and I went with this one because out of the three, it's the one that has the shades that I gravitate towards the most. So I wanted to make sure to get something that I saw myself reaching for and wanting to use more often. So that's how that looks. I know it looks a little funny there with how I applied it. So I kind of want to use more like the special shades to demo. So we'll go on with this one now and apply this on the rest of the lid. So when I've used this with my brush, I'm honestly not as happy with how the finished look turns out. Not that it looks bad, I guess I had expected more out of this palette. So I was a little bit disappointed, especially the first time that I used it. I was like, what is this? I was not feeling it, especially because I don't want to talk about it too much right now, but especially because right away I was like, whoa, this reminds me too much of another palette. So, and not to say that I don't like that Runway palette, but if you guys saw my video where I did kind of talk about it, you probably already know my thoughts, but I will share that momentarily as I mentioned. So I'm gonna go in with this one again with my finger. And this is like that kind of satin shade. And I'm just gonna put this to kind of transition. For my crease, I definitely do need a brush. So I'm gonna use my Sonia G Blender Pro and pick up the bronze shade here. And I'm gonna blend this into the crease. And I'm focusing most of the color here on the outer portion. And then once I start kind of getting a good blend in this area, I'll start going inwards, like continuing that circular motion. And now I can do windshield wiping motions. So now I'm gonna pick up this yellow gold shade. Yellow gold shades are not my favorite eyeshadow colors. I don't know what it is about them that I just don't. I love golds, but there's this specific type of tone is just kind of not really my thing. I'm not quite sure why. So I probably should have used this. Actually, I'm gonna remove a little bit of that because I'm just gonna very lightly go over that bronze shade and then up to the brow bone. Like I just picked up very little of it, because honestly I don't want this to show too much, but it does actually look really pretty on the lids. The other day I just used this all over the lids and actually went in with the matte shade. I think it would have looked better if I would have done the bronze, but this one on the lids, it really popped, but only with the fingers how I liked it. And then I'm gonna take some of this matte shade here. I'm gonna add it on the lash line. Now this is kind of a smudger brush, so it's going to be a little thick, but I think that's okay. Same shade for the bottom lash line. So now I'm going to take the lightest shade here for the inner corner, and then we'll be done with the eyeshadow. I'm going to apply some on my Dolce & Gabbana mascara. Alright, so the eyes are done. I'm going to go ahead and finish my face makeup. The blush and highlighter palette that I have is the one called So Pink. And in the Nordstrom site, it says So Pink. When it came in, it says, I think it said So Chic, but then I was hearing other people say So Chic. so chic. Oh my gosh, I was saying chic. I'm special. So anyway, right now here in the US, these are only available through Nordstrom. So if this is the one that you're interested in, they do refer to this one as So Pink. So let's go ahead and start off with the highlighter. I am very, very happy with this highlighter. It is so beautiful. It has like this kind of pink tone to it, but it's not too pinkish. It's a little difficult to even detect that it has some pink once I lay it onto my cheekbones, but it's actually really pretty. I think it suits my skin tone very well. So I'm using my Synergy mini cheek brush, and it gives a glow that isn't like too much. Like, this is the glow that I'm comfortable in. I love how it just ends up melting into my skin, and I just think it looks really wonderful. Once I have this on for just a few hours, my skin just starts looking so glowy, but like glowy in a good way, not oily. I love this palette, you guys. I am obsessed with this palette. The blushes in here are also very beautiful. They're super vibrant. All of these here are that Baked Gelée formula. So we have like a fuchsia and this really bright coral shade. Now the fuchsia is more of a satin finish, whereas this coral shade has more of a, I don't know if you guys can see it there. It has like a, it just looks more radiant. So, I mean, how beautiful are those? Oh my gosh. So I think today I'm going to use the coral shade. And where is my brush? These can be very pigmented. They blend really nicely, but whew, they carry a punch. And now, although this one does have that glowiness, I don't find that it emphasizes my texture. So that's another win. I mean, this is just perfection throughout, in my opinion. It's so pretty and I love it. Love it so much. This one, like, you could probably see like how glowy my cheek looks. And it somehow ends up looking even better than this. Alright, so let's just take a look and see how everything is looking. The eyeshadow, the highlighter, the blush. Alright, so before I give you guys my final review on these Louboutin products, I do want to talk a little bit about comparison. So I did mention that these palettes definitely remind me of the Burberry palettes, which is so odd that it's actually both from the same brand. So let's look at the eyeshadows first. I'll go ahead and insert a picture of each one side by side. So we have the Burberry Runway palette next to the Louboutin Bronze Eloise palette. Now, obviously the Burberry has 3 more eyeshadows, so you definitely get more for your buck, especially because it's going to be more affordable either way. The Louboutin products you have to buy separately, so that's where it adds up. We do get a variety of formulas in each palette. Now, this comparison is not to say that these eyeshadows are exactly the same. There are just a few that do look a little similar, especially once applied. Here are some swatches. The top row are the Abracadabra eyeshadows. The bottom row are from the Runway palette. There is a difference in some of these, but there is also a lot of similarity with others. But like I said, once applied to the eyes, they are super similar. It's going to be very difficult to be able to tell them apart. Now for me, the Louboutin excites me more, and it could just be because of the packaging, because it is a Louboutin, so it's definitely higher than Burberry when it comes to these type of products, and because for whatever reason, although the formula of this Runway palette is beautiful, I mean, these eyeshadows really do perform very nicely, I am just not inspired by the Burberry palette. So for me, myself and I would go with the Louboutin eyeshadow palette. Now, as far as the face palettes, I'm going to insert a side-by-side of both my Essentials Glow palette from Burberry and my So Pink palette from Louboutin. Now, in these, I more so felt that they were very similar when it came to the formula. The top row has the Louboutin highlighter and blushes. The bottom row has the Burberry highlighters and their blushes. Hopefully you guys can tell that with the Burberry palette, the finish is much more metallic than the Louboutin formula is. I can appreciate the Louboutin more. Now, I've actually had a lot of issues with my Burberry palette. I don't even want to bring it up straight all the way because these pans, like all of them except for the cream, I think, have fallen out of here. So it's such a bummer. It's so annoying. I keep having issues with that palette in that regard, but as far as the formula, I really like it. The highlighters here are not similar. I will say the blushes and tones are a little bit similar. The coral shades are definitely the ones that match the most. So here's a picture of me wearing the Burberry and Louboutin palettes side by side. Can you guys tell the difference? Because I cannot. So then I ended up doing a close-up of each side, and still they look very, very similar. So out of these two face palettes, I 100% hands down will say that the Louboutin is better. So for me, I'm definitely more of a fan of the Louboutin products than I am of my Burberry palettes. Again, not to say that these do not work out or that these are not phenomenal, because they are, but you know, a girl's got a preference, and Louboutin has stolen my heart. It's like final thoughts on my actual Louboutin eyeshadows. I think these are beautiful. Honestly, I had no business buying this because I do have other eyeshadows that are similar. But like I said, I just really wanted to try out the formula, and I am very happy with it. But if I was in a bind and I had to choose either the eyeshadow palettes or the blush and the highlighter, I would go with the blush and the highlighter. This is what you'll probably see me use the most because I have not been able to put it down. So if you guys want to see my first impressions of this and see better swatches, make sure to check out that video. And then the eyeshadow palette, you know, it's pretty, but I am gonna say, if you guys actually watched my last video where I talked about the Olivia Palermo palette, I have the Au Naturel one. I like that palette. I think it looks really beautiful. I've really enjoyed my looks with it. But like, I don't get that excitement to use that palette. And I think I feel the same way about this one, though I do prefer it against the Burberry Runway palette. I'm not sure if I'm just kind of going through a funk right now with eyeshadows. I don't really know what my deal is because I really don't have anything bad to say about this. I mean, it works just as I wanted to. I'm very happy with the look that I have today, but is this a special eye look? It's not. Maybe I'm just getting to a point where I just have so many eyeshadows that it's just becoming a little bit harder for me to appreciate certain color stories maybe, or certain formulas. I don't know. Hopefully I figure it out. Hopefully I get out of this little funk that I think I'm in. But nonetheless, I don't want to take away from this palette and its performance, because it does perform very well. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out, and this is just me being Suzana, it really bugs me that there's so much room between these shadows. Like, I don't like that. I do not like that at all. If I were to just see this part, I feel like that looks really cheap. I don't like it. But it doesn't bother me with this palette, but I think it's because obviously the pans are much bigger, so there aren't as many borders as there is with the eyeshadow palette, but like, it drives me kind of crazy. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time.